Your body is exhausted, your eyes are heavy, but your brain is still in the office. Maybe it's replaying that awkward conversation from earlier, perhaps thinking about tomorrow's schedule, or wondering whether you forgot something important. And then, just to make it worse, another thought shows up. Why am I still awake? That feeling is incredibly common. A tired body and a mind that refuses to land. And this is exactly where the SleepWise method gets interesting. Because SleepWise is built around a simple idea that most sleep advice misses. For a busy mind, the answer is often not to force silence. It is to give the mind somewhere better to go.
So this is not just like, put on something relaxing and hope for the best.
Exactly. And there is a specific reason it can work. In the next few minutes, we are going to unpack why just relax often fails. Why gentle learning can actually work better for restless, high-performing minds. How SleepWise reduces mental clutter without overstimulating you, and why the pacing and delivery matter almost as much as the content itself. And there is one especially important distinction we will get to in a minute: the difference between distracting the mind and guiding it. That is where a lot of sleep advice falls apart. So let's start with the real problem. Most people think insomnia begins in the body. But for a lot of adults, especially stressed or mentally active adults, the problem begins in attention. Nighttime removes noise. No meetings, no messages, no movement. And in that silence, your own thoughts get louder. Now the mind starts scanning. What did I miss today? What do I need to do tomorrow? Why am I not asleep yet? How bad will I feel in the morning? It's like the room goes dark, but the brain's internal spotlight turns on.
And once that spotlight turns inward, everything feels bigger.
Exactly. A small frustration becomes a full replay. A minor task becomes a whole mental spreadsheet. Silence stops feeling peaceful and starts feeling like open space for worry. That's why people can be physically tired but mentally alert. Their brain is not resting. It's looping. And that leads to the next problem, the advice people usually get. Just try and relax, or just stop thinking. On paper, that sounds reasonable. In practice, it often makes things worse, because you end up lying there trying to do sleep correctly, trying not to think, trying not to be awake, monitoring whether the strategy is working, checking the clock, checking your body, checking your thoughts. And the moment you start monitoring sleep, you are no longer drifting towards sleep. You are managing it.
So it's like if trying to fall asleep becomes another task on the to-do list.
Yes, and busy minds are very good at tasks. That is the problem. A lot of high-functioning adults are used to solving things through effort. More focus, more control, more analysis. But sleep does not respond well to force. The harder you grab for it, the more it slips. Which leads to the real reason SleepWise works. It does not ask the mind to become blank. It gives the mind a gentle, structured place to go. Think of the mind at bedtime like a desk covered in papers. Loose thoughts, unfinished conversations, frustrations, plans, tiny anxieties, mental tabs left open everywhere. Most sleep advice will tell you to clear the desk. SleepWise takes a different approach. It tells you, here is one calm folder. Start here. And that is a very different instruction. Instead of fighting thought itself, SleepWise redirects thought. It gives the brain a low-stakes topic to follow. History, science, economics, philosophy, but delivered in a way that asks almost nothing from you. You don't need to solve anything. You don't even need to stay fully engaged. You just need something steady enough to catch the mind before it runs back into its usual loops.
So the goal is not stimulation, but it is also not emptiness.
Exactly. It sits in the middle. Too little structure, and the mind wanders back into worry. Too much stimulation, and the brain wakes up further. SleepWise works in that narrow middle zone, interesting enough to occupy attention, gentle enough not to activate it. And this is the part most people miss. At bedtime, the brain often does better with a soft lane to follow than with a command to stop moving altogether. Now let's talk about why gentle learning works so well here. Because learning might sound like the wrong word before sleep. It sounds effortful, alert, academic. But SleepWise is not trying to teach in the way a classroom teaches. It is using learnable material as a mental anchor. And that matters, because a busy mind does not always calm down when given less input. Sometimes it calms down when given the right kind of input. Something neutral, something structured, something mildly interesting. something that pulls attention outward without demanding performance. It is the difference between being trapped in your own head and being quietly led down a calm path.
I guess that's why some people say silence actually makes bedtime worse.
Exactly. For some people, silence is not empty, it is crowded. It becomes a stage for replaying the day, the email you have not answered, the comment that annoyed you, the meeting you wish had gone differently, the thing you forgot to say, the thing you hope does not happen tomorrow. SleepWise interrupts that pattern by putting one simple thread in front of the mind and letting the rest of the mental clutter fade into the background. Not because the thoughts are gone forever, but because they are no longer the only thing in the room. This is where delivery becomes crucial, because the method is not just about what you hear, it is about how you hear it. A soft voice, methodical pacing, predictable rhythm, no sudden spikes, no sharp transitions, and no pressure to keep up. That combination matters because the nervous system is highly sensitive at the edge of sleep. A sudden burst of emotion, a big tonal shift, a fast explanation, a suspenseful twist. Any of that can pull you back upward into alertness. SleepWise avoids that. It is designed to feel like a smooth descent rather than a series of mental speed bumps.
So the pacing is not just a style choice. It is part of the mechanism.
Exactly right. The content holds the mind. The delivery prevents activation. That is why the method feels different from a podcast, an audiobook, or a video essay designed to maximize stimulation. Those formats often want to keep you awake. SleepWise wants to keep you gently occupied while the brain stops scanning and the body finally takes the lead. And once that happens, sleep starts to arrive more naturally. Not because you forced it, not because you won against your thoughts, but because the mind stopped feeding the loop that was keeping you awake. That is the deeper insight here. SleepWise is not really about making the mind empty. It is about making the mind less noisy. It reduces mental clutter by replacing scattered, self-focused thought with one calm stream of externally guided attention. And once the inner traffic thins out, drifting off stops feeling like a battle.
So in a way, it is less about shutting the brain down and more about giving it a softer landing.
Exactly. That is the idea. If your mind is busy at night, the solution may not be to demand silence from it. The solution may be to offer it something quieter, simpler, and more structured than the loops it creates on its own. So here is the full picture. SleepWise works because it addresses the real bedtime problem for many adults. Not a lack of fatigue, but a surplus of mental momentum. Just relax often fails because it turns sleep into a task. Gentle learning works better because it gives attention a clear destination. The method reduces mental clutter by replacing loops with structure. The soft pacing matters because it keeps the brain from reactivating. And the result is a more natural transition into sleep, not by force, but by redirection. That is what makes SleepWise different. It does not ask the mind to think about nothing. It gives the mind one calm thing to do, until it no longer needs to do anything at all.
If sleep is something you struggle with regularly, follow and subscribe to SleepWise to access our growing library of calm, carefully crafted stories designed to help busy minds fall asleep more naturally. We add new stories frequently, almost daily.